Last week was Memorial Day, or like actually Monday. Last week, but even though it's been almost a week now because it's June 3rd. Now, I believe in the power of dates and remembrances in a time such as as America's and the world's democracy crisis and other great troubles, when people are being buffeted by so many forces at once, and those dates, remembrances, and accompanying rituals help to ground us and give us strength to endure and hopefully triumph overall. Now, now, the dates and rituals and remembrances are even more important for the heirs to the Black freedom struggle and other impaired citizens. They help us to locate ourselves in the continuities of history, and to draw continued strength and wisdom from it. Now, our history and its truths and lessons take on even more importance when the likes of Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, and the other Republican fascists are literally trying to erase all of it. Now, people have read Frederick Douglass, What to the Slave is the 4th of July each year on that day, which I've never read any of Frederick Douglass's books, but, I'm pretty sure I can find them somewhere. Now, likewise, on Dr. Martin Luther King's Junior's holiday, I read, you can find his speeches and essays online, and, um, and people always finish with, I've been to the mountaintop for its lessons and examples about how best to meet one's destiny. Now, on Memorial Day, people continue with the tradition of reading about how newly freed black people established that holiday in 1865 by burying the war dead of the Union Army. And the Washington Post breaks it down like this. Now, Memorial Day developed from many springtime rituals known interchangeably as either Decoration Day or Memorial Day, and it was created to commemorate the Civil War dead. Although many towns across the United States, from Arlington, Virginia to Waterloo, New York, claim to have held the original Memorial Day, the holiday probably had dozens or hundreds of origins and it was diffused across the whole country. Um, Now, the one possible first observance of the holiday was the ceremony organized by the recently freed black community of Charleston, South Carolina, dating back to 1865. As historian David Blight documents, black Charlestonians organized a burial of Union prisoners of war who had died in the Confederate war prison. They built an enclosure for the burial ground. They established rows of graves and set an archway over the entrance gate inscribed "Martyrs of the Race Course." 10,000 people attended, most formerly enslaved people. They sang hymns and the national anthem. They read Bible verses and decorated graves with flowers, followed by speeches, picnics, and Union troop marches that included black units. As Blight wrote on, black Americans who celebrated Memorial Day converted Confederate ruin into their own festival of freedom. Now, over time, some of that celebration of the emancipation may have been had been subsumed by Juneteenth, the anniversary of slavery's end in the United States. Um, now, Time magazine article adds further. About 10,000 people, mostly black residents, participated in the May 1st tribute, according to coverage back then in the Charleston Daily Courier and the New York Tribune. Starting at 9 a.m., about 3,000 black school children paraded around the racetrack holding roses and singing the Union song "John Brown's Body," and were followed by adults representing aid societies for freed black men and women. Black pastors had delivered sermons and led attendees in prayer, and then the singing of spirituals, and there were picnics. James Redpath, the Wright director of the Freedmen's Education in the region, had organized about 30 different speeches by Union officers, missionaries, and black ministers. Participants sang patriotic songs like "America" and "We'll Rally Around the Flag" and the "Star Spangled Banner." But in the afternoon, 3 white and black Union regiments marched around the graves and staged a drill. The New York Tribune described the tribute as a procession of friends and mourners as South Carolina and the United States never saw before. The gravesites looked like a one mass of flowers, and the breeze wafted the sweet perfumes from them, and tears of joy were shed. Now, what Black Americans did on Memorial Day in 1865 in Charleston reflects a much larger history of our gifts and sacrifice and generosity towards a society and country that, for much of its history, viewed us as a subhuman property. Instead of responding with hatred and violence, black Americans instead built a nation under our feet, not just for ourselves but for the benefit of all. Black people in America have been singled out for white violence and other assaults precisely because we are both symbols of America's democratic potential and also its most stalwart defenders. Now, Memorial Day of 2023 takes on even more power and poignancy and it resonates so very loudly and uncomfortably because it marks a year of resurgent and escalating white supremacist violence and anti-black hatred in a society where the Trumpist fascist fever dream continues to endure, no matter how many commentators, most of them overly optimistic white people, declare it all but vanquished. Now, last May, a white supremacist terrorist shot and killed 10 black people at a supermarket back in Buffalo. During the years since Buffalo, Republican fascists and their forces have continued to escalate their attacks against the civil and human rights of black and brown people. Now, so-called conservatives are imposing Orwellian thought crime laws across red states and even in other parts of the country. Now, these laws are targeting books written by black, brown, LGBTQ, Muslim, and other marginalized writers that are deemed to be unpatriotic, divisive, pornographic, or woke. And like I said before in one of my earlier videos, ask a Republican what the word woke means, and I can't fucking define it. The real problem, of course, is that books that confront the complex and often painful realities of America's past and present offend the sensibilities of some white people. Now, as we saw on January 6th of 2021, which was the day of the Klan attack that Trump incited, when the Confederate battle flag was triumphantly carried through the halls of the U.S. Capitol by Donald Trump sycophants, also known as terrorists, the Republican fascists, and larger white rager, leading a revolutionary project to end multiracial democracy, and nothing about that project has slowed down. If anything, it has been accelerated, but it's been accelerated throughout the Republican Party's control in the House of Representatives, the U.S. Supreme Court, and numerous state and local governments, as well as with Donald Trump's possible 2024 squatter wall campaign. And he cannot win again. We cannot have Trump winning again. Now, Trump, the Satanists, and the other leading Republican fascists may be conducting a power struggle among themselves, but they also have become even more bolder in their emblance of white supremacy and racial authoritarianism. This campaign of right-wing radicalization has proven highly effective. For example, public opinion polls show that a majority of Republican and Trump voters actually believe in the false Great Replacement conspiracy theory that was touted by Tucker, and its absurd claims that white people are the real victims of racism and discrimination in America, rather than the black and brown people, even though black and brown people they endure, the black and brown people endure racism every day. Now, undeterred by the $787 million settlement in the Dominion Voting Systems of Defamation lawsuit, and by what it revealed about the network's inner workings as a propaganda operation, Foe and the larger right-wing echo chamber continues to circulate and amplify the white supremacist messaging. America's police continue to kill unarmed and innocent. So America's police continue to kill unarmed and innocent black and brown people every day. Now, the massive protests of 2020 in response to the police murder of George Floyd have not resulted in substantial police reform. The American society is so sick with racism and white supremacy that one of the worst recent high-profile incidences of the political thuggery against a black person was committed by a group of black police officers back in Memphis. Now, the FBI, DHS, and other law enforcement and national security agencies continue to warn that the white supremacists and other right-wing extremists represent the greatest threat to America's domestic safety and security. Several weeks ago, President Biden issued this warning during a commencement speech at Howard University, which is the nation's most prestigious historically black university in all of America. White supremacy is the single most dangerous terrorist threat in our homeland, and I'm not just saying this because I'm at a black HBCU. I say this wherever I go. Fearless progress towards justice often means ferocious pushback from the oldest and most sinister of forces. That's because hate will never go away. It hides under the rocks, and when it's given oxygen, it comes out from under that rock, and that's why we know this truth as well. Silence is complicity, and we cannot remain silent on this issue any longer. Now, before this weekend, a cadre of Republican fascists sought to hold Biden and the American people hostage by threatening to default on the country's debt payments. We still do not know the details of the alleged compromise Biden has made with Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, but whatever budget cuts have been extracted are nearly certain to disproportionately affect black and brown people and other vulnerable Americans. Now, such an outcome is not coincidental at all. It is an act of structural violence as well as systemic racism. Now, the cycle of white supremacist terrorism and violence continues. Approximately a year after the white supremacist attack in Buffalo, an apparent neo-Nazi killed 8 people at a mall in Allen, Texas. After Memorial Day, we continue to feel battered and weathered by America's enduring and undefeated white supremacist culture. I know that I'm not the only one alone in these feelings of frustration, exhaustion, and growing futility. And where are we going to find hope to keep on fighting? A few weeks ago, we lost a titanic hope warrior in Harry Belafonte, a legendary singer and actor, activist, and truth teller. Just a few days after his death, Jeff Charlotte, during an interview for Salon about his new book, The Undertow, he was asked what we had learned from his conversations with Belafonte. Now, today is a poignant day to explore that, Charlotte said, noting that his book begins with Harry Belafonte. Basically, he said that he opened the book with him, even knowing that it would cost him readers and sales. Now, Harry Belafonte, to start a book on the Trumpocene, we need to start the book with some beauty and some hope, and we needed to explore the beauty of the man and the beauty of his anger, and that endures. The hope that Harry Belafonte gave is not some type of cheap grace. We are not going to beat Trumpism at some appointed time that is close in the future. That is not how the real world works. The struggle is going to be long. Harry Belafonte was 96 years old, and on his death day, knew that he got defeated. Harry Belafonte knew and understood that more than most people, he was a man who was so essential to the civil rights movement. He hated the Hollywoodization of the movement. He would tell people that we dreamed of some things, we fought, and they killed a lot of us. When Charlotte was talking to Belafonte, he would address Martin Luther King in the present tense like a ghost that was with them. The struggle is long. Too many people want a happy ending, and nope. It was basically biographer Jonathan Eeg was asked what he had learned about hope and progress and resistance and struggle from writing his epic new biography of Dr. Martin Luther King. In the full historical analysis, did Dr. Martin Luther King win or lose his long battle? And Eeg cautioned that the answer is not yet clear. It sure looks like he got beat. But we don't know because history changes. History is a living thing, and right now it feels like everything he warned us about, he was right. We are more divided than ever before. Income inequality, racism, anti-Semitism, they're all terrible things that we're enduring right now, but we don't know what King's final impact is because it's ongoing, and it's up to us to continue the story and his legacy. The activists and historians speak of the long black freedom struggle for a reason. Since Memorial Day, we were reminded by its origins among black Americans at the end of the Civil War that democracy must be an active verb and not a passive noun. It is something that we do and something that we must fight for. America's multiracial democracy is now, and it always has been, a work in progress. It is contingent and vulnerable and a thing dreamed of but not yet achieved. Now, if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. You can also go ahead and leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just $1 a few bucks a video or a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.